Welcome to Happily Ever After. This is
The
the
Raj
family. I am Martin, and this is my wife, Debbie. My wife, what is the topic for the day?
So, we are talking about how to manage family after marriage or during marriage.
During marriage, of course. And is this the family as in you and I, or family as in your family and my family?
All of those.
All of those. Okay,
All of
okay.
the
So it
above.
is going to be very interesting today. So let's see how this would go. What is your first question?
So, how can we have open communication when it comes to family relationships and situations?
I think it is very important for us to be very plain, not having hidden agendas and talk about something else. I have seen several Instagram videos where people, like the wives or the husbands, they have another thought in their minds, but then they do something else in action, expecting the husband or the wife to understand that. That is not fair, because the husband might be in a different world or the wife might be thinking about so many other things, and then the spouse expects to do mind reading. And that's not fair. So, as you said in the question itself, the communication has to be open, very open, plain, clear, and simple, because that makes life very easy. When you say you are expecting me to do certain things, say it instead of giving me hints, instead of expecting me to understand you, instead of expecting me to read your mind, just say it. Hey, honey, I would like for you to empty the trash. It's been there for a week and it's not been taken away. Yes, I might have forgotten, you have told me before, but it is easier to say it, than to be like, okay, is he
Going around the bush or
Exactly.
getting all emotional. And
Exactly.
this actually happened to me the other day. I wanted to share with you how I felt I needed help in certain areas in the home with our current situation and responsibilities, but I didn't know how to say it. And I was like, I don't want him to feel extra burden. So, in a way, I wanted to relieve you from extra burden, but I needed help and I didn't want you to take it the wrong way. So,
Yes.
making all of this what if, and what if he says this, what if he says that, how. So, then it becomes a huge thought that I have in my mind that is a very complex situation I want to come and share with you. So I already come with a lot of emotion and pressure. So then I said it in the wrong way. I was more like not saying, "Hey honey, I feel a little right now with too many things on my plate. I would need your help in this and this. Could you help me?" Or how could we do it? That would have been plain communication, clear. You would have said, "Okay, I can do this, no problem," or "I couldn't do this, but I can do that." But I came with a lot of emotions and burden. So I shared with you, then I shared things more in an accusative way, like, "Hey, like I didn't want to burden you," but at the same time, I was mixing myself so much that I ended up kind of blaming you in my request. And then
And-
you felt attacked and blamed, and so you didn't even know what was my point exactly or why I was suddenly coming with so much emotional turmoil.
Yes, and also it is not a nice feeling for the other person to receive an accusation without even knowing what is the context of all these things, what is the main
Right.
point of all these things. So it is very vital for us to learn how to communicate, and we both are growing in that aspect. Not that I'm a saint and I have not done those mistakes, I've done those things as well. The moment we try to suppress, and this is especially for us people pleasers, those of you out there, if you're a people pleaser, this is for you. The moment we try to be a people pleaser, not to hurt the other person, but you want to convey the message, but then you don't want the message once conveyed to be taken incorrectly, and then you're trying to build this whole story in your mind so that you can give the right words, you're going through a whole lot of turmoil.
You are confusing yourself and the other
Exactly.
person and hurting both.
hurting
and
hurting both, and sadly it is not even intentional when you're hurting the other person
Yeah.
and yourself. So the easiest way is to communicate openly. Now, communicating openly doesn't mean being rude and being like demanding. You always have to have that love, but you can always communicate openly. Hey, I expected you to do this and it's not done. Could you please do it?
Or this is how I feel when you don't do
Exactly.
this, and this is what I need. So not put it like to the other person, you're not doing this and this is your issue,
Yeah,
but more
yeah.
this is how I feel, this is what I need. And express your feelings will actually create more desire in the other person to help than if I'm being accused.
Yes. Yeah,
When-
because no one wants to be accused. No
No.
one wants, especially when the other person doesn't even know what they're being accused for. You know?
So this is a very important thing to manage family needs,
Yes.
plans, everything, to share more where you're at. And before letting it build up and imagine how the other person would take it, just express your heart.
Yes. Correct.
That won't hurt anyone. You can just express your heart, and then you can work on what you will do.
Express your heart from what you are going through,
Right.
what the other person.
Right. Not express
to.
your heart, I'm so frustrated, you're this and that, this is my heart. No. My heart is, this is how I feel.
Now, I have a question in that topic itself. Let's say you are expressing your heart to me, right? I feel like I feel like overwhelmed. Let me put it that way. I feel like I'm overwhelmed. The trash has to be taken out, and this thing has to be done, that thing has to be done, and I have so many things on my plate. And you are expressing yourself, and then I take it lightly, right? And I'm like, well, if you're overwhelmed, that is your problem. If you want anything, you can tell me directly, right? If I put it that way, what could be done that can actually give a solution? You understand my question?
So basically, if I express my heart, but you don't want me to express my heart, you just want to be told what to do.
Yes, there are people who do that. And in that case, I think it would be better for them to go to a counseling session, to counselors, to hear from their perspective as to what can be done. Because in marriage, it goes both ways, right? Both has to be involved, both has to work together, and one person cannot expect the other person has to do everything. In that case, I think it will be only fair if they need to go to counseling to understand who can work on
How
what.
the dynamics work
Yes,
best.
Exactly.
Because definitely sometimes we don't have to make a whole story. This is how I'm feeling. Like express always my heart in a way that is burdening the other person. Like, wait, you're feeling way too many things. But I think it's important to understand that we care about each other's feelings. If that's
Yeah.
not there in marriage, then there's nothing really to hold
Exactly,
you.
exactly.
So to understand that we acknowledge each other's feelings, but at the same time to understand that there are things that personally we need to grow. We cannot be burdening the other person with our feelings all the time either, because we're responsible for our feelings as well.
Correct.
So there's a balance there, I think,
Yeah,
that needs to be
yeah.
addressed.
And you know what makes it even better? If I empty the trash even without you telling me to do it.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
Maybe it might not be. I'm just using emptying the trash as an example. Yes. There can be any example, whatever you are going through, you can use that as an example, whether cleaning the toilet or cleaning the house or taking the kids to wherever.
Doing the bills.
Whatever. Yeah, whichever. I am just
Yeah,
using
putting
that
an
as an
example.
example. And that shows, without you telling me to empty the trash and I empty the trash, it'll make you feel special, right?
Yeah,
It'll
for
make
sure.
you feel
It's like-
special, and you feel like you didn't even have to say, but your feelings are being validated just by those actions. So I think that also has a
Especially if we know that for the other person something is important and it's helpful, then through acts of service, we're showing love.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to the love language as well.
yeah.
You know. So I guess in this point, kind of to wrap it up clearly, if I understood correctly, what we're trying to put here together is don't accuse the other person, but actually express how you feel about the situation, because that's the bottom line of why you're bringing it up. You know, I feel I have too much on my plate, or I feel we talked about this and it would mean so much if you help me out with this. And I feel, you don't care for me if you don't do what you said you would. Or so instead of accusing, express how those things make you feel deep inside. But take responsibility for your feelings and don't be constantly feeling sorry for yourself either and burdening the other person and using it as a manipulation to make the other person do things.
Exactly.
And if needed, like Martin said, make an appointment, go to counseling, get a relationship coach, a marriage coach to help you out in what are healthy ways to deal with differences.
Exactly.
So that in a nutshell will be open about your feelings. Don't judge, but express. Don't let things build up so that then you bring so many emotions and crying and but try to express it more, with a cool spirit. The world will not end if he even doesn't respond well, but I'm expressing. And then we can sit down maybe another time and be like, hey, how can we live our life better? And make a decision. And then if, let's say, we decided, okay, you will clean the bathrooms while I'm at work this day, then he doesn't do it. And then I jump in and it's like he doesn't do it. And then I'm cleaning it all upset. Maybe I can wait and let the bathroom not be clean. And then he will be like, well, I'm so sorry I didn't do it. He will feel the responsibility. And I'm not trying to jump in and then feel pity for myself because he didn't do what I was expecting. And so that whole...
And also, you don't make the other person feel guilty.
Right.
Yes, they are wrong. But if you're expecting the other person to do something, you cannot make them do out of guilt.
Right.
It might work for a certain period of time, but then afterwards that guilt won't work. Guilt tripping won't work. Likewise, pity party will not help either. Accusations will not help. None of these things will help unless there is an intentional effort put on both sides and they intentionally want to please each other. I think that is where the love comes into the picture. As I shared, how would it be if I do something that you didn't even ask me to do and I'm doing it for you? That is love, isn't it? You don't even have to say. And now it doesn't happen all the time because sometimes we might forget, sometimes we might be focused on other things. But then when you come with a point of, from your perspective as to what you are going through, and if I truly love you, I will understand you. Because you're not accusing me. You're not guilt-tripping me. You're just sharing your heart. And when you share your heart, and if I truly love you, I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that you were expecting me to do this. Or I know you told me this to do this, but I forgot. But I will make it up right now. The whole dynamics will be changed in that aspect.
And I think this brings another point that kind of goes along these lines is clearly sharing not only how you feel, but your expectations. They need to be realistic, not unrealistic. Like, oh, I expect you to do this and this and this and this and vice versa. And then we're like, whoa, how can we ever fulfill the expectations? But we cannot guess what each one is thinking or envisions in, I envision this for my wife or I envision this for my husband. We need to speak about those things even early on in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I have another question with the same family dynamics. How can we balance work and personal life? Because recently we've seen a lot of couples complaining that the husbands are constantly in their work and they are either introverts or they are doing their own thing and they're not spending time with me or in some cases my children. How can people find a balance? What are your thoughts on it?
That's a very good question. I think it's being intentional that our relationship, it's a priority. And that we don't want to let it... Like, I think of marriage as a garden.
Yeah.
And recently one of our friends, he said that the grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah.
And that's so true. And if marriage is like a garden, what you invest in it, you'll get more results out of it. What you don't invest in it, you cannot expect to get results. So as a couple, to speak about, what do we want for our marriage? Or my husband is an introverted husband and he's into his work and he doesn't really seem to enjoy. Find what he enjoys. Not just him alone, but what does he enjoy to do with you? What does he enjoy in life that maybe you can make a creative time together with that? Maybe he enjoys something new. Can we learn something new together? Maybe he enjoys exploring new places. Maybe he enjoys just quiet time, a good meal, a cozy time. Maybe he enjoys working in the garden. So what can I as a wife, and we can decide, okay, we will compromise. I don't like working in the garden, but you do. We will do a little thing together. And then we will learn. Then what is something I like that you can somehow compromise? And then we can agree to spend some time in something we can both build something together. Some time, some quality time. And then keep exploring new things. Because like I had some friends and they were like, oh, my husband doesn't like pictures at all. And I was like, but let's do a photo shoot. I would love to take pictures of you guys. And then we went out to take pictures and they did amazing. And the husband was so natural and we got some really romantic, beautiful looking pictures. And then they were so excited and like he bloomed. And I was like, Or like, oh, he doesn't like, maybe going to certain places to tour or museums. But then we go and then it's like, it was enjoyable. It might depend which kind of place or what exactly type of picture or photo shoot. And then just explore new things and maybe find a friend that is makes it excited and you just try something out. And then you'll learn more about each other because maybe you're like, well, my husband doesn't like this and doesn't like that, or I don't like that. But just get out of your comfort zone. Just try and then see new worlds in the other person's brain and way of enjoying life. So try to analyze your partner, I would say, and explore new things. That's I don't know anything else.
And I also wanted to talk a little bit about personal life and work life. How can they manage both of them? I think once you come out of your work, whether it is a wife or a husband, once you come out of your work, you're out of your work. Now you are with your family, and family is the priority. You either sacrifice on your work or you sacrifice on your family. And once you are out of the work hours, you have to sacrifice on the work because your work hours are done. Now it is time to focus on your family. The moment you bring workload into the personal life, into the family life, what's going to happen is it is going to the personal life, your family is going to suffer. And we need to be very careful with that because, as you said, where you water, it stays green, right?
That will grow.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of your garden will become abandoned and won't even give fruit or flowers or.
Yeah. So I think we need to be more intentional in that aspect. And it is unfortunate that we have come to the point where everything is on our phones, everything is in our computers. So, and we also have the pop-up message on our computers, on our phones. So the moment
it's almost impossible to disconnect.
Yeah, the moment you set up that type of notifications.
Thank you.
Bless you. The moment you try to set up that type of notifications on your phones, on your computers, it is going to creep into your personal life, right? It's not going to be like, oh, okay, I just saw the notification, I'm going to still ignore it. No, in your brain, it is registered, okay, my boss sent this message or my team member said that they've fulfilled, let's say, 100 orders or whatever, and they are your competitor, it's going to be running in your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
It's going to be running in your mind. So, and I'm telling this out of my personal experience, because when I used to work in the other place, it was like a 24-hour job. You're taking care of patients, and you cannot just leave and do your own thing. If you're in charge, and if someone needs help,
You're responsible.
you're responsible for that. Exactly. And if you don't respond and the other person messes up certain things, this is kind of risky. How do we manage that? How do you handle
So
that?
let's finish with practical tips.
Yeah.
Practical tips of what helps. And number one, maybe is putting messages, chats on mute for the time, or put your airplane mode, or do something to avoid seeing messages in off hours. That's one tip. Also, if you have you're out of work and you're at home with family, don't let social media creep in unless it's something you're watching together or doing together, because that can also divide you. Each one is in their own world, so that's not family time. So you can have time to relax, each one do whatever and your hobbies, and have that freedom. But when it's family quality time, or as a couple you want to have quality time, you need to make a decision what we're going to do, or if not, put away things that are going to be creeping in. So that's another tip.
Yeah. And also what I've noticed, especially with my workplace, is people that work under you, you train them to be leaders. So they are not constantly messaging you or calling you to figure out what should be done in this situation, what should be done in that situation. But you train them, you give them certain amount of authority to make their decisions. And of course, you have to be careful who you're giving the authority to as well. But you have to make them very clear. You have to let them know that this is what is happening, and this is my
Delegate responsibility.
delegate, and this is my hours. I won't be responding. It'll be on mute, whatever. And also, in some cases, when you go on vacation, family vacation, people will message you and call you. So during those times, it is better to just turn off the phone.
Or have a special time in the day, let's say from 10 to 11, it will be my time to check emails, answer things, but then you disconnect to really invest. Because there's a saying I have that is, distraction doesn't allow intimacy. So
True.
you cannot have a clear conversation, a present mind, built on something if you have constantly distractions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a very important aspect. Just one more thing, it's make sure you end your work, especially if you work from home or certain things that you are flexible. Put a deadline when work will end. If not, it can take over your life, your personal life, your family, and so have boundaries. So for now, we'll end with some of the tips that we have implemented and have seen that are a blessing to keep family life between us stronger. So make sure to subscribe, to share, to like, and we'll see you next time.
Until then, this is the Raj family. We are on Happily Ever After.